to have Facebook pulled up for
Yeah,
share.
we'll share that. Okay, we're live.
Hello, and welcome to Team SI's Midday Roast, where we like to kind of share and show you some of the conversations we're having with each other about marketing and advertising around the office. And today I have Tanner Ward. He's one of our senior account executives, works primarily in the automotive sector, but is very knowledgeable about the whole digital marketing picture. So I'm pleased to have you join us today.
Thank you.
And I am Pittman Ware, also a senior account executive here at Team SI. And before we get started and dive into our topic today, let's remember to share the feed on social media on Facebook. So we encourage you to go into your Facebook feed and share this broadcast. So, all right, I'm looking at myself talk, and I'm going to share. I'm going to write a little post like, check us out. Cool. All right, that's posted.
There we go.
All right, and if you have any questions throughout the broadcast, please feel free to throw those in the comments. If you are watching this later and you have a question, feel free to use the comments as well. We'll keep checking back and we can answer any question you may have. So today we are looking at attracting new customers to your business on in digital, essentially on social media, but also on website, on digital advertising, the whole gamut, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is attracting new customers.
Right.
So one of the ways that we like to do this is through contests. We've had a lot of great social media contests and giveaways. I think they're fun. I think people, if the prize package is big enough, they'll like, yeah, I'll share the hell out of this. I'll tag a friend. I'll share it in the comments. I'll like it. I'll go and like your page. I know you've done a lot of those. I've done a lot of those. We're about to do our second great tailgate giveaway for the Colton's restaurant group, and all of their franchises. Really looking forward to that. I think one of the cool things about doing these contests on Facebook and is that you can reach a really wide audience, but you can still make it sure that these are folks that are in your sales funnel, right? And like how we like to do this is, we will take, folks that like one of their competitors or like the restaurant themselves or, like steak, like eating out, and then cull that down to folks that have recently actually made a transaction at a fast casual restaurant. And of course, you're going to reach more people than that because these contests can kind of get out of control and get a little viral. Even though they're designed to be, but I think it's great that you can just start out with a really focused group of, in-market users.
And one thing that we like to do when we're putting together the contest packages is to try to tailor the prize pack to who are going to be your potential customers. So a lot of my clients are here in Arkansas, and so one of the things that we like to do, rather than putting together this like wildly outrageous prize package that's going to attract people from all over to enter, we try to gear it more towards Arkansas and to keep it local, so that the people who are entering the contest, who are seeing the contest, and who are going to be interacting with you are people that are actually going to be they have the potential of actually being a customer. So, if you're launching a contest and you're giving away a trip to Disney World, or you're giving away $2,000 in gift cards or whatever it is, well, there's nothing that's keeping that contest here local to people who are actually going to possibly be a customer. Maybe instead of a trip to Disney World, you give away a trip to a weekend at an Arkansas State Park, or you give away gift cards to local businesses or something along those lines. Try to keep geographically the contest geared towards people who have the potential to actually turn into customers for you.
Absolutely. And then another big point about social media and reaching folks on that platform that could be new customers is, and I think this is really hard for brands to figure out on their own sometimes, is finding their voice, finding their identity, and like how do they talk to their customers and their new customers.
Right.
What have you done in the past to try to help a client find their voice?
Yeah, so it's really important. I know a lot of us have, if you just think about brands that use social media, there's several iconic brands that come to mind. And I put together a little list of some companies that have really found their voice and are doing a great job on social. So of course, one of the most popular ones right now is Wendy's. So Wendy's has really exploded on Twitter by using witty and kind of sassy comebacks to people who may have negative
I love those.
interactions or send a negative tweet to Wendy's. So they've kind of found their voice in that witty, quick comeback to those tweets. Another one is Denny's. They also, when you think about Denny's, you think of a restaurant that kind of caters towards older people. So one thing that they wanted to do, their goal was to try and attract more young customers. And so by using the language that millennials and teenagers are using online, they've really been able to open themselves up to a whole new market of people that weren't really thinking about being a customer at Denny's before. A couple other brands, they're doing a good job. You've got GoPro. So GoPro focuses a lot on user content. So you buy a GoPro camera, you're going to go use it when you go snowboarding, when you go surfing, whatever it is. So you're producing some really cool videos with their product. So one of the things that they wanted to do was take that footage and all that stuff that their fans are producing and take that back and use it for their own marketing. So they have all different kinds of content channels that they're putting that out through, whether it's on social media, whether it's on YouTube. So it's really catered towards people who are into the action sports, who are into different hobbies and whatever that may need to buy a GoPro. So they're really, invading their space, showing them all these cool videos and saying, hey, oh, by the way, that's shot on a GoPro. That's something that you might need. And then along the same lines, you have Apple. So Apple, within the last couple of weeks, Apple has launched their first Instagram account. And so on that Instagram account, they're focusing only on photos that were taken on iPhones. So they're really big. Their whole marketing campaign is really big on, they give you the technology and then they let you do what you want with it. And a lot of people like the cameras on iPhones, whether it's photos or videos. And so they are highlighting on all of that content that's already out there. I think you can post it to your Instagram account, use a certain hashtag, and then I don't know how often they post, but every once in a while they'll pick the best content and they'll put it on their own Instagram page. Yeah,
and it's surprising Apple didn't get around to doing that sooner because the camera has always been such a selling point and they're advertising for so long. I remember a TV commercial with Jon Favreau talking about, oh, this kid shot this movie on an iPhone, get him in here. And that was like 3 years ago, and now they're down just thinking like, hey, maybe we need to reach some young people on Instagram where they're posting all these pictures they took on their phone.
And in doing that, they're kind of going after the big camera market. Because people are seeing, oh, I can take these awesome photos on my iPhone or these videos on my iPhone. I don't need to go spend $1,500 on a camera. So that's kind of the new customer that they're trying to go after with that.
Absolutely. So another great way to look for new customers is to think about business influencers and what kind of businesses might align with yours and try to garner some support from folks that already like one product or like one brand, that it naturally aligns for them to like your brand. You're not competitors, but your businesses align. One great example I can think of, we didn't do this for their tailgate campaign, but we did this for the very first giveaway campaign we did for Colton's. It was a Memorial Day kind of campaign to kind of kick off grilling season in the summer, and I thought, we have this really great, they're not a client of ours, but I love their product, and I think it's, they do great branding. It's PK Grill here in Little Rock, and they realized very early that their charcoal grill, because it was, this really thick, half-inch aluminum body surrounding the whole thing, was great for cooking steak because it cooked it at a very high temperature very quickly, similar to how you do it, on, in a restaurant. So when we were thinking about giveaway items, I, told Colton's, I was like, let's give away one of these PK grills. It's perfect for us because they're talking steak, you're talking steak. Nobody's gonna choose to buy a grill and not come into a Colton's, or vice versa. It's a different mindset, and it worked out really well. And I think that's a great example of seeing where your businesses align, but not to the point where you're competing and you're not treading on each other's turf.
Right.
Do you have any examples of?
Yeah. So another big way to reach new customers is through what's called influencers, and so influencers are super specialized. I guess you could almost call them celebrities in like a certain area. So one of the big areas that has a lot of influencers is in like makeup. I have a couple of friends who are big into makeup, and so they watch influencers they follow them on Instagram, on Snapchat, watch videos on YouTube, and actually I use this lotion on my face by Nivea, and it's Nivea Men's aftershave lotion.
Yeah.
And so I've used it for a long time, and then a couple of years ago I started noticing that it was like super hard to find in Walmart or Target or wherever. And so I just happened to mention it to them one day, and they said that one of the makeup influencers had suggested on their YouTube channel that this lotion was a good alternative for, I don't know what it was, something that you put on before you put on your lotion or after, whatever it is. But you can use it, and it's cheaper than like the big name brand cosmetic things you can find in Sephora or in a makeup store. So all of a sudden, all these people who had never heard of the product before, weren't ever going to buy Nivea Men's face lotion, were now, it was selling off, like buying it out from all the stores. So that's a good example of aligning yourself with somebody who's very influential in a certain area. Maybe you are unheard of in that market, but then all of a sudden you're the latest, hottest product.
Yeah, and it can be really easy. It's just as far as like finding those folks who are on doing their makeup videos or on YouTube or Instagram and throwing them some free swag and saying like, hey, try out our product. I think you're gonna love it, and if you do, give us a shout out. It's not necessarily really expensive to reach those folks.
Yeah, just send them a few products and let them know, hey, we want to give this to you for free if you'll use it in your video or if you'll make a post about it or something like that. All you're out is the product itself.
Yeah. And I think another really important thing to remember when we're putting these kind of campaigns and we're looking at these different tactics is the idea of meeting your customer, your potential customer, where they are in the sales journey, because the sales journey has very different points. They can be researching, they can be getting ready to buy, or they can be weighing two options. Enlighten us a little bit more about how you specifically like to reach out to folks and make sure that you're meeting them where they are in that sales journey.
Yeah, so one of the biggest aspects of marketing today is through content marketing. And so there are so many different ways for you to reach people. You can reach them through social media. You may reach them through a blog post. Maybe you reach them through a video on YouTube. So one of the things that you want to start out with is figure out obviously who your customer is going to be. And then you want to figure out where they're getting their content right now. So with the makeup people, they're getting a lot of their content on YouTube by watching videos. With Wendy's or Denny's, for example, a lot of people may be scrolling through their Facebook or Twitter or whatever in the morning right before they go to lunch, and so that's the time that they're making their decision on where they want to go out to eat. Or if they're planning something with their friends that night, so they're maybe looking through in the afternoon, and you have the potential to capture their attention. So you really want to figure out where your customers are going to be, and then by doing that, you're going to figure out what type of content that you're going to give to them. So maybe it's making a video showing people how to do something. maybe it's writing a blog, kind of like a BuzzFeed style thing, where you give a big long list of 28 reasons you want to use this certain product, or some different types of life hacks if you have a more applicable product like that.
Yeah.
So you can really figure out where they're going to be, and then take that to figure out what type of content, and really catch people who may not necessarily be actively looking for your product, but who may be looking for information, because you're the expert in your field. So use your expertise, put that knowledge out there, capture their attention early, and then that way you can also pull them into your brand, give them information, pull them into your brand, get them excited about it, and then you can pretty easily turn that excitement into a purchase and then a long-term customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one good example is the famous Steve Landers, how to take the hard top or the doors off your Jeep videos we did years ago, which I think when you first think about it, it's like, great, but if they already have a Jeep, why am I advertising to them? It's like, well, Jeep enthusiasts are enthusiasts, and they're not always sticking with the same Jeep, or maybe they are, and they always need service for it, because Jeeps are they're great cars, but they people treat them rough, and they constantly need service. So I thought and that video, just by I think Team SI looking and saying like, what is like the most search term regarding Jeep? Well, it's how to take your top off, how to take the doors off.
Right.
Let's make a video for it. And I think that's that great life hack kind of
right.
content.
And it was a super simple thing that people are definitely looking for. It's not even a very good video, but it's got over 1 million views just off of those few videos that we've done. And so it gets about 25,000 views a month. Still.
And it's how many years old?
5 or 6 years old by now.
See, that's evergreen content right there, because it's just a minimal investment, but with a lot of foresight and a lot of upfront, because there was a lot of SEO for video work done on that, but it's worked. And then another thing to always keep in mind is how you can use your competition against them, or how to use your competition to the advantage. One of the things I know you guys in automotive do a lot is geofencing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so one of the ways to reach potential customers is to take them from your competitors. So one of the ways that you can do that is by setting up ads to run around your competitors' locations. So for example, if I have a Jeep dealership in Little Rock and I want to go after a Jeep dealership in Conway or North Little Rock and maybe get their customers to come to my dealership, you could say, you could set up an ad to run around those two locations and say, hey, got a deal from another dealership, bring it by ours and we'll beat it. Or
told you can only get this car in these two colors, come to our dealership, we've got all 5.
Yeah, so you can kind of say, hey, we know that you're at these other places, but come here and you'll have a better experience, or you'll have a better selection, or lower prices, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and you can do that at all types of stores. I know a colleague I have, or a person I know that's in the furniture business in Memphis, and then the big new IKEA opened up. Right. And he sure well, it's like, I'm gonna geofence the hell out of that place, because when they're in there, they're in market for furniture, they're in market for a bed, and they're probably shopping on price. So what kind of ad can I serve them while they're in there to tickle those things? They need a piece of furniture, they're shopping price. Right. So it kind of informs the call to action right there.
Right, and you can even put in something on that ad, like, show us this ad and you'll get 10% off or something like that, to kind of further entice them. So yeah, you can, and setting it up for different competitors. So like if somebody was at Haverty's or one of the other brands, Ashley Furniture. One of the other brands that unlike IKEA is not known for beating everybody on price, you could maybe have a different message set up to run around those locations.
Yeah. And then, of course, another really big trick up our sleeve is conquesting. which is not as easy as it sounds, because it just sounds like, oh, I'm just going to bid using AdWords. I'm just going to bid on my competitor's name, and then all this traffic's going to come my way. And it's not quite not quite that easy. One of the things you have to really think about is, how am I going to make this ad relevant? Because Google is going to score you as a negative, or give you a 1 relevant score, which is the worst score, because you're not IKEA, you're Haverty's. You're not a Dodge Ram dealership. You sell Chevys. What's a way that you guys get around that in automotive?
Yeah, so you have to, a couple of things kind of go into your relevancy score. Obviously, what's on your ad, what's on your landing page. So say you are, like we were talking about the auto dealerships, if you want to try and go after somebody who sells Chevys and you sell Fords, maybe the page that you're directing people to from that ad is a comparison like Ford versus Chevy, and you can give content on both. So that may be able to help raise your relevancy score. But it's important to remember that conquesting and going after competitors is always going to be more expensive, because you're not who they're looking for necessarily. So you're going to probably have to pay a little bit more to get out there.
And I think it's also important to point out that before embarking on a conquesting campaign, you really need to let your salespeople, the people who are answering phone calls, know that, hey, we're going to get some calls from folks that think they're talking to the Chevy dealership, or think they're talking to Petco, or this restaurant. Tell them, oh no, we're not, but we have this. We have what you're looking for. You should come in right now because we're offering this. Because I know some of the conquesting campaigns I've had have driven me crazy when I'm hearing all these folks going, well, I thought you were there. And they're like, no, you have the wrong number. It's like, that was a lead. That was a hot lead. He needed exactly what you had in your store. Get him in the store. So it's... it can sound really simple at first, but there really is, I think, a lot of moving parts, and you need to make sure that you're prepared to capture any of those leads whenever they come in. And another good thing that I don't think people think about in conquesting is on social media. Because if you're, especially if you are either a large brand that competes against large competition, or you're a smaller brand that competes still against larger competition, any of those people that like a competitor, most likely going to be you're most likely going to be able to target those folks if they're a national brand. I've heard a secret before that it all goes back to their Wikipedia pages, and if Facebook uses Wikipedia as a brand check. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
I haven't heard that before.
That's the thing that Facebook uses to determine if you're a targetable brand. Who knows?
That's interesting.
So if you know that somebody's interested in Outback Steakhouse, well, you run a Colton's, you're gonna want to target those folks and get your ads in front of them, because you offer a very similar product with your own style, your own taste, and a lot of times you're a lot closer, or you've got a better price point, or you've got a really great promotion running. So I always tell people, look at the competitors, look what your competitors are doing on social media, because that can inform you whether or not you need to step up your game and think about maybe giving some more creative content, putting that up there, something that's more engaging.
Right. Definitely.
So another, before we go, I want to talk about another kind of useful tactic, which would be hosting events or partnering with live events. Especially, this kind of goes back to the brand influencers and people that align with your brand but aren't necessarily competitive. I think a good example that Grace brought up when we were doing our show prep was the Hounds Lounge pet spa down the street that partnered with the Barkus crew and helped sponsor the Barkus Mardi Gras parade earlier this past year. And I think that was really successful because they were a new business. A lot of people hadn't heard about them yet, but people are always looking for a new option for grooming, doggy daycare, dog products. They had a self-wash station that had been another pet store had that was really popular that then they shut down.
Right.
And just it was a great way to get in front of folks that didn't know about them yet, because
Mhm.
you know I'm sure they didn't have a huge ad budget to start putting
Right.
billboards and TV spots and paid digital ads all over the place. But all of a sudden they had a large group of in-market users all in one place at one time,
Mhm.
and a really cool name. So.
Right. Yeah, and not only are you getting the exposure from the other businesses' fans that way, but you're also getting some credibility, because
Mhm.
people who like the other business say, hey, these people obviously recommend Hounds Lounge for us, and they know about it, and they think it's a good product, so I trust these people, so I'm gonna trust those people too.
Mm-hmm. And I think it shows that you really care about the community, especially if you come in and provide a sponsorship,
Right.
or help something like that get off the ground. Well, cool. Well, this has been a great discussion. I hope y'all have gotten a good bit out of it. Grace, before we sign off, do we have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Facebook Live. We will have a podcast version of this episode airing next week. It'll go live on Apple, the App Store, and iTunes, Stitcher, all the places you get podcasts. So until then, we will thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thank you for joining me, Tanner.
Thank you.